I'm Lisa Nordbo, and this is Vikings in real life. In Denmark, and especially in Copenhagen, we get our fair share of drunken Swedes and Norwegians. But at the same time, Denmark time and time again is called out for having a high consumption of alcohol. We want to get to the bottom of this beer bottle. Are the Danes really the drunks of Scandinavia? We're going to start out with some facts. Looking at the three countries, Norway and Sweden have a similar alcohol policy. In both countries, alcohol is sold through state-owned stores, Vinmonopolet in Norway and Systembolaget in Sweden. This means that you can't just go into a random supermarket and buy a bottle of booze. Well, in Denmark you can, and since we have stores that are open around the clock, you can buy alcohol all the time in Denmark. Denmark also has the lowest legal drinking age, even though the 16-year-olds are only allowed to buy products with less than 16.5% alcohol in them. Fun fact, in Sweden, the bartenders have a legal obligation to keep their guests from drinking irresponsibly. So what effect does these different restrictions have on the amount of alcohol consumed? Well, it looks like we can't run from the fact that the Danes really are the drunks in Scandinavia. But can this really be true? Let's call a talking head. Today's talking head is Kim Bloomfield, who's a professor at the university here in Aarhus. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
So tell me, are the Danes really the drunks of Scandinavia?
The Danes aren't the number one, at least not in the world and not in Europe. They're down around number 11 if you look at the OECD statistics, and they're down at about number 26 if you look at the WHO statistics. But if you're just looking at the Nordic countries, then Denmark and Finland are almost tied. In fact, Finland is drinking a little bit more now. Before that, Denmark was definitely leading the Nordic countries.
So why is it that the Danes drink so much?
My own theory on that is that they share in two drinking cultures. They share a border with Germany, so they have the German style of drinking, and they are part of Scandinavia and the Nordic region, so they also share the binge drinking culture. So when you add those two together, you get like an addition of two drinking cultures that supports more drinking. And I think it has until now fit in with this liberal vision of Danish society that Danes are free to drink whenever they wish and as much as they wish, as long as you don't appear drunk, except for, of course, for the young people. So there's just been this greater tolerance of drinking at every occasion almost. And there hasn't been a temperance movement here, not a strong one, to counteract the drinking tendencies. So that's another reason, I think, that the Danes drink so much. But I think that's changing a little bit, also because of EU pressures from the health directives, that there is more consciousness now as to how Danes drink, even among the adults. I think it's sort of filtering over into the adults because for the last 10 years or more, it's been well known how much the Danish youth drink, and they are at the top of the league tables.
When we look at the Scandinavians, are there any difference in when and why they drink?
I think they all drink at the same occasions. I think that's all accepted across those countries. Sweden stands out for drinking a lot at midsummer. There's really a spike in the amount of drinking if you were to look at intoxication and just consumption over the year. Then the Swedes really go to town then. So that's an extra holiday for them when they're drinking. excessively. But otherwise, I think the difference is they're all drinking at roughly the same frequency when they're binge drinking, but Denmark also had this additional, just regular, higher consumption along with these heavy episodic drinking occasions. The Danes, they probably drink wine with meals during the week more often, and more people do that here in Denmark than, say, in Norway, Sweden, or Finland.
Well, in Denmark, the Norwegians have a reputation for drinking a lot of moonshine. How sure are we that they don't drink more than the numbers show?
In this day and age, it looks suspiciously low. We have 6.2 liters per capita in 2012. I don't know that much about the Norwegian drinking culture, but I do think they do not drink that much during the week, and they tend to, do more of this binging on the weekend. So it's hard to tell how much you would have to add to that figure to make it more realistic.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Kim. So I guess we found the answer to the question. Yes, the Danes are really the drunks of Scandinavia. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and follow us on Facebook for more stories on real life Vikings. Cheers.